about the Big 12? Right? The Big 12 has been in the news trying to keep pace with the realignment stuff. They're a fascinating conference as it relates to 2023. Because TCU, they were 5-7 in 2021. They end up playing for a conference title in 2022, lose it, still make the college football playoff, play for a national title. We won't talk about the national title for the good people that are TCU fans watching the show right now, but they added 4 teams. They got Cincy, they got UCF, Houston, BYU, all joining the party. What's their impact this coming season? Gus Malzahn and company, man, they have been recruiting. John Rice Plumlee. I saw somebody call him Bro Jackson because he plays baseball and football, and that is probably one of the funniest / best nicknames in college football. You love to see it. Don't know that they're a factor this season, but keep an eye on them. TCU, what are they going to do? Well, they lost 70% of the offense from last year. I think that hurts. Still really talented. I'm not counting out Chandler Morris. Dude can spin it. If you remember correctly, he ended Baylor's chances at a college football playoff berth when he just stepped in there and went bananas that one game. So we'll see what he does, but I'm not necessarily buying TCU to look the way they did last year. Kansas State, they were the conference champion last year. I really like what they're going to do this year. I think they're one of those teams that you watch, especially in like late October, November, and if they don't play for a conference title, they are absolutely going to ruin somebody's chances at playing for a conference title. But they lose right around half the production they had on defense. Think they'll still be really good, but I wonder how they respond to that. Also, you lose Deuce Vaughn. And Deuce Vaughn is a generational kind of player. He was one of the best running backs last year in college football. I don't think you just replace him and just plug and play and roll right along if you're Kansas State. So I don't know how I feel about that. Texas Tech, I'm really high on them. Y'all know, man. I mean, I think Joey McGuire is going to absolutely do numbers long-term at Texas Tech. Like, they are recruiting really well right now. When the Big 12 shifts a little bit, I think they have a very real chance to consistently be atop that conference or be consistently in the top tier of that conference. But for me, I think you find Texas, the Longhorns that we talked about earlier in this live show, I think you find them in Jerry World when they play this conference title game. Because for me with Texas, all it comes down to, I am expecting them to be what they are. And what they are is a team with a year 3 culture that they have built to now, and a team that is enormously talented. We talked about the fall camp intel around Texas earlier in this live show. So if you're watching this clip, go back and watch that because there's a lot of intel that you probably want to know about. They feel like this is one of the most deep teams they've had in the last decade. And we've always known Texas to be talented. We've always known they've had somebody that's probably going to have a bright future in the NFL, but putting it together and having somebody behind that cat, if he were to go down or if he is tired, and having no drop off from the 1s to the 2s, that has always been the big mountain Texas has been trying to climb. And now under Steve Sarkisian, it sounds like they feel really good about the opportunity to do that. That Bama game, week 2, is going to tell us a lot about where the Longhorns stand. Going to tell us a lot. Like, we'll talk about it when it gets here. That will be a game that gives us a good litmus test. We're not defining them based on that game, but I'm telling you, if you're a Texas fan and you want to see how you stack up nationally, you go to Tuscaloosa, game 2. And you feel pretty good about where you stood game 1 last year. Heck, you feel like you maybe should have beat them should Quinn Ewers stayed healthy last year. I guess we'll never know. But for Quinn Ewers this year, that's a big reason for your confidence. I mean, as a recruit, had as much buzz as anybody coming out of high school. He's chopped the mullet, going a little bit more all business. We're cutting off the party in the back. We're now business in the back and the front if we're Quinn Ewers. And for me, there's so much made about his ability, and I think all of it's fair. But the way they feel in Austin is, we don't need you to light the world on fire, Quinn. We need you to be efficient. We need you to be consistent. Because we saw really good Quinn Ewers at times last year. We also saw games where he threw 30 incompletions, I believe it was, against Oklahoma State. Now, some of that, I think there's more to that story. I'm not going to speculate too much about what went down in Stillwater and how healthy he was or wasn't. Didn't look like himself. But the bottom line is, if you can get the ball consistently to these wide receivers, you're going to score a lot of points. Like, it's just the way that it is. You got Xavier Worthy, who is one of the best wide receivers in college football. Isaiah Nayor is a transfer receiver from Wyoming. I had somebody send me a picture of him at practice the other day. He's like 6'3", 210, but he's like a long 6'3", 210, like the kind of guy that probably wins a lot of jump balls, but he's not wiry. Like, he is a built-up 210 coming off a knee injury. Like, he's going to be a guy they depend on a lot this coming season. So you hope and pray that he's healthy. I haven't even talked about Jatavian Sanders. The bottom line is Texas and A.D. Mitchell, the transfer from Georgia. The bottom line for Texas is they are going to have a ton of weapons, a ton of pieces, and a quarterback that I believe is more than capable ability-wise. And you give all that to Steve Sarkisian. We've seen Steve Sarkisian. Now, if he's got some ingredients, he can cook. We saw what he did at Bama with Mac Jones and Devontae Smith. Like, I'm not making the comp there. I'm just saying, give Steve Sarkisian talent, give him time. I think they're going to be in good shape. So I think they at least make the Big 12 title game. And who do they see there? Little Red River rematch. Yeah, they see Oklahoma in the Big 12 title game. And Oklahoma last year, they were a punchline team. That means everybody and their mama at the end of the year making jokes about, 6-7, Brent Venables, wish you still had Lincoln Riley. Like, that was kind of the noise that was going towards Norman, Oklahoma. And some of it's warranted, right? Like 6-7, the people in Norman, Oklahoma, that's not their standard. They're not cool with that. They're not like, yeah, great, 6-7, awesome, good for us. No, they don't feel that way. But I think by nature of the moves they made this offseason, I think they have fixed the issue, if that makes sense. Because last year, it's no secret, the issue was the defense. They were out of position a lot. I don't think they had the personnel they needed last year. And so what does Brent Venables do? He went and got 8 new defensive players from the transfer portal. Deshaun McCullough being one of them, who I think is going to be a dude. Going back to that part about the problem being fixed for Oklahoma, if the problem was the defense last year, I saw a lot of guys just being out of position. Like, I didn't see a lot of plays where guys aren't finishing through on their assignment. Like, it was the guy just wasn't even anywhere in the realm of making the play. And so that tells me a couple of things, or what it could be rather. One is you just missed the assignment because you didn't know what to do. So some of that is us as coaches, and some of that is the players being able to pick up what we're putting down, and we got to simplify things. But Brent Venables now, he's coached defensive football for a long time. He's been able to put really good defensive units on the football field. I understand he doesn't have the title DC, but make no mistake about it, this is Brent Venables' defense. I don't care what is said. So when that happens, when you're out of position, either we're out of position mentally, that's one part, but I think more likely the versatility required to play Brent Venables' defense in Norman, Oklahoma last year, they did not have that from a personnel standpoint. And that's why you go get Deshaun McCullough to probably help you at Cheetah. Jaron Kanek, a guy who is extremely fast in the 100 meters coming out of high school, is going to play linebacker for you this year. You got Stutz playing linebacker as well. Like, they have a lot of pieces that I think are going to be more of a fit this coming season, because they replaced a lot in the front seven. And if you want to play Brent Venables' style of defense, you have to be able to do multiple things and do multiple things well. I don't think they had that personnel last year to run this defense, and that's why you saw what you saw. But offensively, man, like, people kind of forget this. Every single game that Dillon Gabriel was healthy in, they were in. The only games that Oklahoma was just kind of a no-show was Red River and TCU. TCU, Dillon Gabriel gets hurt. Red River, Dillon Gabriel doesn't play at all. Outside of that, man, Oklahoma lost a lot of close games, but even so, they were in a lot of those games. And the offense, to me, was not the issue. Dillon Gabriel and company, I mean, they scored right around 30 points a game. Jeff Lebby and him are back for another go at this thing, dynamic duo. What it comes down to, offensive line holding up their end of the deal, and the wide receiver play, having somebody that can separate. Andrell Anthony is a transfer receiver from Michigan that they feel really good about what he brings to the table from a speed standpoint. Still got Drizzy Drake Stoops lined up in the slot. Jaleel Farouk on the outside. Like, the offense is going to be built to go fast, run the football. When that defense creeps up, we got deep shots down the field. If we can hit those deep shots, we have a wide receiver that can separate. They're going to be really good. And I think they got some guys that can do it. So for Oklahoma, I think they end up making it to the Big 12 title game. However, I think the Big 12 champion is Texas, because I think Texas, they just have a different kind of edge to them this year. It means something building to a year 3 culture and building to a year 3 roster, as opposed to Brent Venables now. Yes, he's in year 2, but he's also going into his second year ever as a head coach. I am very much so bought into what Oklahoma and Brent Venables are building, but I think when it's all said and done, I think the Texas offense is just elite. I think the defense is good, but I think the Texas offense, man, they're going to score their way to a Big 12 championship. So Texas, for my money, is your Big 12 champion. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.